Hey, it's Matthew David, the Minister of Allowing. So let me tell you a story quick. It's about this. This is the Beethoven Brain CBD. So what makes this unique is, first of all, well, my friend gave me a call and he wanted me to, get into the CBD. And he said, you like it. You've been using CBD. And I'm like, yeah, I've been using it. And I was using a different blend. And he said, well, here's what's different. Okay, now my friend's a genius. He's in his 20s. He built a company that was the fastest growing company in the industry that he was in, sold it for $50 million this year. He's sunk almost $1 million into this manufacturing for the CBD. And he said, listen, the reason why ours is different is that our blend uses physics to extract a full 100% of the plant. So it doesn't use any chemicals. It doesn't use anything abrasive or anything that would cause any impurities in the blend. It extracts the full amount, the full 100% of the plant. And so that is important to me. And we got 5,000 milligrams. So we're going all in on this.
I am of the pure mind of God. I am the resurrection and the life in my body, my finances, my relationships, and my world. I qualify everything in my world with perfection. I am perfection. I am this perfect day, and the life that lives in me is the light that cannot fail. I accept only God's perfection, His good, in my outer circumstances. I know in my heart that God is all in all. I am absolutely not concerned about what happens, because I know wonderful things are happening now.
Welcome. So I'm just going to try to do something different here for just a minute, and I guess just have a conversation with you. And not much going on other than what Sabrina and I talked about last time. I've been doing sprints again for a couple days and getting back into my cardio. I had only been working out about 20% of what I used to for about 3 months now. I cut back a lot just so I could get back into, doing strength training, but just felt sluggish. So I started running again and did some good, really high intensity cardiovascular stuff. And I guess it feels like it's that time of year again. It feels like it's the time of year where I used to play hockey for 20 years, and so I'd always be in shape coming this time of year, start getting in my best shape ever. Winter time coming, and that's another scary thought. You see, winter is coming. And with winter coming, we run the risk of this whole thing coming back, this whole lockdown, all this stuff that they do. But I think that the majority of people are kind of past that now. I think that there's enough people that see the truth and they demand the truth. So I think that there's going to be a quite shocking season for this political re-election. If you believe in that stuff, I don't believe there's been a legitimate election for a long time. And that's based on the work of Russell J. Gould, etc. And it seems like everything is a scam these days. It's all just a bunch of crap that they throw at you to keep you busy, to keep you distracted, to keep you preoccupied and away from what's real. And so maybe I'm talking about that right now, is that the what is real is, I'm spending time out here in stillness. I'm listening to the voices, listening to the fake birds over there, the fake eagle sounds to keep the seagulls away. Feeling the breeze. It's all about this moment. It's all about this moment. This moment is the only life that ever existed for you. And so what you have this moment is the perfect stillness. It's the still mind of God. And so to reflect what God is your purpose on this planet. You're here to reflect God. And that's to reflect the fruits of the Spirit, to be complete within yourself,
to live in peace. And so much of it has to do with being still, being in a meditative condition of state where you are rooted in now space, where you're centered in this moment so much that all of the motion through time and space that you call matter, because all thought is actually the movement of matter, okay, it's movement, and everything is motion, it's magnetism, it's loss of inertia. It splits into two equally diametrically opposed forces every time you take thought for your life. So you come from a place of rest where you're in what I call the flow, the still space, the eternal rest that God created you to live in, the Sabbath day. See, his idea of man is forever held in that perfect stillness. And then we create agitation out of that rest, and we step into what we call the world of form. And that world of form is the motion of thinking, the volition of thought from mortal opinion. And opinion means no fact to stand on, it means lie, essentially. So we live in a world of lies, and there's always a equal and opposite force for every thing that we are considering. So, the desire for being rich, I had that desire for a long time in my life. I had to go through being bankrupt twice in order to experience the polarizing aspect of that, which would be the havingness of plenty. So had to experience both sides of it. So if you ask for something, you get both, because you are essentially complete within yourself. But when you start asking for things, taking thought for your life, that initial thinking is what creates the motion. So I'm stilling it back, bringing it back to the still space. And if you get quiet enough, you can really know all things. See, the purpose of a quiet place is not for you to talk to God, but for you to receive, for you to become atoned at one mind, atonement, at one mind. That's the place of rest. Resting your worries, resting your desires, resting your concerns, reflecting only that which God is: goodness, joy, peace, love, long-suffering, gentleness, kindness. Then you're the manifest of God. It's like we watched this movie last night, Smokey and the Bandit, this old school movie. I wanted to create these memories with my kids by getting these old school movies and showing them, how I grew up when I was their age. And that was one movie I saw when I was you're really young, less than 10 years old, I'm pretty sure. And as we watched it, there's a part where they pull over the semi and they say, "Show me the manifest." I was saying, "Show me the manifest." Well, manifest is what? It's to tell you what's on board. So everybody's talking about, law of attraction and manifest. And, well, what are you carrying from within? That's the manifest. It's not out there. It doesn't ever come from out there. That's an illusion. That's for your five senses to use deductive reasoning, but you could also use reductive reasoning. Reductive is a much more holocentric way of looking at the world, because you see things as one idea splitting off into two different causal forces. Well, by the time they split off, it's no longer cause, it's effect. It's what we see as motion and matter. It's said, motion is matter. There is no matter. It's all motion, and there's no intelligence in it. So it's the counterfeit fiction version of the truth. The physical body you wear in your idea of yourself is a fiction
It's a constellation of motion through time and space. You live in that construct that you were born, and you go through time, space, and you die, which is really just a sine wave pattern. Okay, like your breath going in and going out is a shorter experience of time, but your body coming in and out of what you call the physical domain is also the same fractaling experience until you rise up out of the dream altogether. And that's why it says in the ancient Gnostic Gospels that he who remains a creature till the very end, ignorant till the very end, is no better than a beast, because there's nothing gained. There's nothing gained from that, because when all that you've gained is stuff from the outer, how to feed yourself, how to clothe yourself, how to acquire these material things that you think you need. If that's all you've achieved nothing, because you're playing with effects and you're reasoning from the world of emptiness. So the whole point here is to know the cause, and to be known by the cause by reflecting what the cause is. And so you have to have a discipline. That's what the word disciple comes from. You have to have a discipline of putting yourself first long enough. So you put yourself first long enough so you can create the experience necessary for you to know your creator by giving yourself permission to do so. All of this busyness, see, I think about this world and I think they got all this busyness going on. It's all a bunch of garbage. Filling out papers, chasing things, trying to go after all of your material needs. It's all a bunch of nonsense. And you know what it is? It's the archons or the rulers, what you call them, the deceivers of this material domain, the ignorance that swept the earth. It's designed to beguile you and to trap you in the middle place. That's the labyrinth of your human mind. It's designed to get you stuck up here. And that's the point, because if it keeps you stuck in the thinking mind, then you keep spiraling off an infinite amount of these, two-pronged causes that are diametrically opposed, creating motion which equates to the sum total of matter that you perceive through the five senses, what you hear, smell, see, taste, and touch. And so it keeps you bringing in data. See, everything's about data. We've come to the age of dataism, right? So everything's about data now. Data is the new king currency. It's the new God that rules the earth. It's data. Well, all of this data that's being pulled in is being extrapolated from the outer. It's being extrapolated by the human five senses. And so it's void of the causal effect, which is the infinite one, God, 0 and 1. 0 is decimal point and 1 is principle. So you have this principle, which is the ruling omniscience itself, one mind, one power, one presence. And the 0, when you take anything, multiply it or divide it back into 0, it vanishes, it's gone. The 0 is the light. It's the perfect your timing, perfect timing, etc. And everything in the universe is going through these octave wave patterns. It's all frequency and energy, and it's in octaves. And so that's where I got the idea for the metronome. Everything's timing. Which timing are you on? So if you calibrate your timing, you'll notice that certain times of your life when you're very agitated, in other words, when you're very agitated, you're doing a lot of moving away from rest. You're moving away from the stillness. You're getting caught up in reasoning. You're being trumped by the world, pun intended. So what you're doing is you're going out in the world and you're doing all of this busy. Well, you notice that your timing frequency is different. Just naturally tap your hand to the rhythm of the timing that you're in, just what comes natural, right? Then go sit yourself into a meditative state and get quiet for a good hour and immerse yourself in light. And put your focus, your entire focus and your entire concentrative energy, drawing in all that gravitational force, okay? Focus is bringing in that force of gravity, and the gravitational force is what I'll say. And you're going to create a narrow point focusing on the gap between sounds, between spaces. Target the silence. Just laser target on that silence. And then check your metronome again, and you'll notice it's a far different, see? It's a different speed, it's a different octave, it's a different frequency, everything's different. And that is actually a parallel universe. You know, see, your five senses say, oh, well, no, everything looks the same. No, you're being deceived, because everything material is motion. There is no intelligence in anything material, it's motion. You're perceiving motion. Everything is magnetism. In the entire construct that you see out there, it's all magnetism. You're perceiving motion. So your five senses are picking up, okay, like snapshot still images. Like you take a Kodak, you take a snapshot, you put it all together and it goes like a movie screen. It's like flickering through the movie, and then you look at it in terms of time, you think it's moving through time. It's not moving through time. It's still image, framework, snapshot, and your five senses are perceiving a density in a material form, but it's just motion. And the whole idea here is that all the elements that you're perceiving, all of the elements that make up what you call matter, are different octaves, they're different tones. And so everything comes down to rhythm and vibration. It all breaks down to rhythm and vibration. And the perfecting presence for all of that is the light. The light perfects all. And so we bring everything back to the I am presence within, and we take our attention away from the world out there. Because the world out there will suck you in like a parasite. And it calibrates you to its mayhem, its disorder, its mayhem, its confusion. What you want to do is you want to get into the stillness and change your octave, your frequency. And you bring that quality of stillness, that quality of meditation, that quality of beingness to every venue that you enter. And you begin to destroy ignorance with light. That's what the original meaning of light worker is all about. It's something that you're actively expressing through the quality of your refinement, refining yourself. And it's a discipline. It takes, like I'm doing right now, I'm just taking you on a discipline. I have to break away from the world. And even this guy, Robin Sharma, he talks about how you scientifically create the state of flow. He talks about how you have to discipline yourself to take time away from the world and get into that stillness so that that quality becomes part of what you carry. See? Doesn't it make sense? You become who you hang around. You start hanging around stillness, and that place of rest is the mind of God. That's where your eternal domain is. That's where the Lord of hosts is. It's the mind of God. So you want to get into the mind of God. What is God knowing to be true within His creation? What is always and forever permanently true in the mind of God? Ask and you shall receive. Knock and the door shall be opened. You see, it doesn't say anything's going to be withheld from you, but it does tell you that you're going to have to ask. And in my humble estimation from doing this for years, is that asking requires waiting patiently. Infinite patience produces immediate results. But infinite patience is a quality that you carry. That's called stillness. So infinite patience that produces immediate results is your stillness that you carry in the world. And what it does is it changes the octave. You start to synchronize into a parallel reality. We've had so much miraculous happened during some of these really turbulent, chaotic times. President Trump was just here a couple hours away from us in Kenosha, where we've got ongoing troubles. And you know, where I live, it's paradise, and it's been paradise the entire time. You know, I've had my opportunities for people to attempt to agitate me, and there was a upheaval for some time about this whole masking thing, but now wherever I go, the vast majority of people are not wearing masks. Well, what happened? Well, what do you think happened? The light destroys the darkness. It's just a matter, as they say, of time, which is the movement of thought. So I've been walking through this whole city day after day, night after night, and I've been synchronizing myself with this technique that I created called the PTT. And all it is just a way to get there. It shows me how to get into a certain state, and carrying that state as a meditative quality everywhere I go. And all it is reflecting a truth that is in the mind of my Creator. And that truth is the eternal verity of goodness and rest, joy, outside of which there is nothing but illusion. So I'll walk into a venue, say Walmart, and there'll be a lot of appearance of...
Are you feeling embarrassed and stuck because you can't focus or concentrate? I have a confession to make. I spent years unable to think clearly, like I was in a fog. I was going through the motions, running my companies, and I hated feeling groggy and mentally sluggish. I couldn't get ahead like this. It's no secret, the powers that be want us dumbed down. Chemicals, fluoride, our brains are under siege, and we are experiencing lower IQs. But now there's a weapon to fight back and win. Introducing DNA Evolve, a revolutionary breakthrough in a category of cognitive enhancers called nootropics. I've been using DNA Evolve and couldn't feel better. For me, it works. It feels great to get things done again and get ahead. Try a free sample for yourself at DNAEvolveSample.com. That's DNAEvolveSample.com. Supplies are limited, so go to DNAEvolveSample.com right now.
So there will be an appearance of illusion and ignorance, and these things will appear to be real. But remember, we have to see things from the quanta, or the quantum, and know that it's just motion. All matter is motion. It has no substance in it. Substance is in the idea of the Creator. It's not in the material. So we just have to know the truth. And we know that the light, the I am presence, the light, I am the way, the truth, and the life, I am. We turn things over to the great I am, and we speak. Whatever you add to I am becomes the word, because it's given to the mighty power within, and it becomes what they call the flesh. In other words, it becomes, see, it takes the idea from the Creator, and it becomes the simulation. It becomes the simulated material that you call matter, but it's motion. It's just the motion of that thought. So when I'm coming into this place, I start to sync up every 4 seconds so that I'm in the gap between the propensity to think. Every 3.5 to 4 seconds, you have the propensity to think, and that thinking takes you out of rest, and it puts you into the two different diametrically opposed forces of duality. But as long as I stay in the place of the rest, and I just drop the intent in the still space, I know the truth in that space. So when I walk into the venue, I drop the truth. I am the only mind here.
and I am the good that is never obstructed. I am God's breath that is never obstructed by any material condition. You see how I just know the truth? And then I just do the ABC break process just to pull myself out of aversion and attachment. So it is not it. No thinking. Could I allow for just this moment things to stay as they are? Yes. Could I allow even more for just this moment things to stay as they are? Yes. Go to a place of peace? Okay. Totally relax. That means I take the burden off of myself. I was never engineered to take thought for my life. Jesus said, take no thought for your life, so you wouldn't create all of this. Okay? Then I go to the other side. I go to the other side as if it's been solved 5 years ago. And I get into the feeling of that space, because the feeling gets the blessing. The feeling is the magnetic field. The feeling is the resonance frequency. So I get into the feeling. And then I walk through the venue with that feeling in my heart space. And that's knowing the truth. That's all that Christ ever did, was know the truth of his Father. And so doing that, and I'm not going to take credit for anything that God has already created, because everything is within his mind, within God's mind. All I'm doing is lining myself up with the reality where it already happened, so that I begin to observe as the witnessing awareness more and more of it, because the motion or the volition of thought originating from my awareness is tuned in to the outcome I desire. So I begin to notice more and more of it. And as I begin to notice more and more of it, it begins to expand in my world. And then I begin to celebrate and pour forth love and appreciation to the presence I am within. And it becomes more and more and more. That's the cycle of prosperity right there. That's the cycle of gratitude equals riches. Riches of all. Health, wealth, all of it. Goodness, joy, peace. So I take ownership of it. That's why I don't wear a stupid mask. Because I'm not going to reflect my own trauma back to myself, that I am the idea of the mind of Lucifer. No, I've never been that. I was never created to exist in that domain. In fact, anything material is void of substance or intelligence, so therefore I am the reflection of God, and nothing could ever come between that, because I am spirit. And spirit is breath, and breath is never obstructed by any mortal opinion. Not the least of which, putting one of these diapers on my face. And that's the way I look at it. And when you change the way you look at the world changes. So I look at the world through the lens of what God is knowing to be true in a state of rest. Okay? Now, in other words, if someone agitates me and they become hostile, I notice that their vibration can cause things to speed up, because they're trying to enter my space. It's like a ripple wave effect. If a boat drives by and creates a ripple wave effect, and you feel it and start going like this, and you're on a body board or something, right? Well, I'm not going to take on that frequency. I'm going to decompress. I'm going to I'm going to de-escalate the situation by letting it pass right through, not grabbing onto it, not even opposing it, but not partaking in it. See, that's a subtle distinction. I'm not fighting against anything, but I'm also not activating it within myself either. And that took a little fine-tuning at first because I hadn't played in this venue yet. I have never seen with my lying eyes an entire population of mask-wearing nonsense. I've never seen this before, so it tripped me up for a little bit, but then I caught on to the rhythm and I learned how to walk in my rhythm. In other words, walk right through those venues completely undeterred by those waves in that wake of that nonsense. And then I began to become my own self-fulfilling prophecy by turning it over to the I Am presence, knowing the truth in that conundrum. It's nothing more than a bunch of error congregating in a dark place, so to speak, and I bring the light of truth in. And once the light of truth is made known, and I talked about this in the training video, PTT training, it's like me just dropping a huge cannonball in and just sending my wake right through all of them. And see, my wake bears the truth. And whatever truth is known, whenever truth is made known, see, minds mingle, you should know. That just because you don't acoustically hear what I'm saying, because I'm not speaking it to everybody in the room, minds mingle because when truth enters any equation, it destroys all error. And so the idea here is that I bring the motion of the truth into that venue, and it is known by all in that venue because truth has no opponent, has no adversary. And so once it creeps in, it becomes like a virus and it wakes everyone up. That's how distance healing works. That's how all of this stuff happens. That's why when you're sick, you could call a Christian Scientist and say, you know, I've got this really bad thing going on. And they can say, okay, well, God never created it. The only cause is God. The only cause is good. So I'll get to work on it, they say, and, you know, I don't know, sometimes it's 5 seconds later, sometimes it's by the end of the night, sometimes it takes a little longer, but eventually that truth penetrates through all of the cloudiness of ignorance and error, and it brings about that which is eternally at rest, which is the mind of God, and destroys, you see, just like I talk about these wave cycles, right? See, the mind of men, the mortality ideas, these ideas of sickness, poverty, confusion, lack, all these things, they all have a counterfeit source. It's called the mortal mind, or the opinions of men, erring humans. So some ignoramus comes up with some idea, and it begins to spread in the realm of ideas as minds mingle. An example would be you're in a room and somebody yawns, and soon you see that with your reflected outer, and you start to take that on and you yawn. Well, that's the way minds mingle and things spread as well. But it doesn't mean God yawned. God never yawned. Okay, so if we know that God is not yawning, then where is the power and the potential for this to happen? It's not in the material thing. That's just the motion. That's just the idea taking form. That's just the idea taking form. But if we go to the truth and we know God never yawned, God never became tired, God never fell to any material condition whatsoever, because God is eternal, at rest, perfected in its own creation. And then we bring that truth to it. And as they say, it's just a matter of time, or what I say, it's a matter of timing. Once things start to harmonize in the right timing, in other words, you see, they're all sending these little waves out, you know, these little waves of error.
Gotta wear a mask, gotta wear a mask, gotta wear a mask, gotta wear a mask, right? And then I just go, boof, and I drop in with truth, like a truth bomb. Well, that wake goes right through and overtakes all of those. When does it do it? As soon as it gets there. And so what happens is everything, like I said, your body comes into the world, your body goes out of the world. It's all this electrical wave, okay? Electricity, laws of electricity. Seeking its state of rest, the ground state. So what happens is the tide goes out, the tide goes in. Well, their tide goes out and it comes to its end. But what doesn't come to an end is truth. Truth is eternal. Everything else is finite, and whatever is finite is not true. That's why I can tell you that a yawn is not true, because it's not permanent, it's not eternal. I'm not yawning now. I didn't yawn 5 minutes ago. I didn't yawn even 8 hours ago. So therefore I know it's not the image and likeness and reflection of God, because it's not permanent. But now my breath going in and my breath going out is spirit, because that's permanent. That is a fact of what we call life. The breath goes in, the breath comes out. The breath goes in, the breath comes out. The breath goes in, the breath goes out. And we also know that the breath is not obstructed by any material condition, because spirit cannot be obstructed by anything. Steel bars cannot hold human imagination. That is the living Christ. Spirit is that function of imagination that reaches you through wisdom and brings you back through repentance to the Father. And that's done through knowledge of the Father. And the Father is that which never changes. And the way to know the Father is to get into the Father's presence. Omnipresence means this moment is all contained within this moment. So you get it, this is full circle now, we're wrapping this up. You get back into the still space and you detach from all of that drama. And you become known by God when you reflect God. And you know God when you contemplate God. You become what you contemplate. So you begin to spend your time wisely and use more of your discipline on what really matters most, knowing God.
Listen, there are two types of people in this world. People who believe they can and people who believe they can't. I'm pretty sure you already know who I am. You see this, Mocaine. This is my secret. You know, probably you never heard of it because you are swinging around your local coffee shop and congregate with the sheep. Bah, bah. What's wrong with you anyway? So what you waiting for? Go on mocaine.com and little Tony will ship you some little baggies, risk-free, to try out. You should be killing it. You should be living like me. You should be living like me. But you ain't, right? You're missing this. This is the secret. This is the fuel to complete your mission. I'm putting powder all over the streets. I don't want to hear any more excuses, okay? You work for me now. I want you to be my customer. Go on mocaine.com and do the Mocaine Miracle Morning. I'm not gonna ask you again.